This is where everything changes. What if you could rewrite the story of your life? Not through struggle, but through the power of your imagination. In this video, you will uncover the forgotten secrets of Neville Goddard, the mystic who taught that luxury, love, and happiness are not accidents of fate, but the inevitable result of a mind trained to assume its desires as already fulfilled. You will learn the exact formula to dissolve doubt, magnetize abundance, and step into a reality where prosperity flows effortlessly toward you. Because the truth is, you were born to live in opulence, and this is how you reclaim it. This is where it begins. Not with a wish, but with a revelation. Your imagination is not a playground for idle thoughts, but the divine workshop where worlds are built before they appear. Picture for a moment a version of yourself who wakes up in a penthouse overlooking the ocean, slips into a car that purrs with power, and moves through life as though every door opens before you even knock. This is not fantasy, but the blueprint your mind must adopt to make it real. As the layers peel back, you start to see that Neville Goddard's teachings are not about hoping for luxury, but about inhabiting the state of someone who already possesses it, so completely that your body hums with the certainty of its arrival. This is how it unfolds. The moment you realize that your outer world is a mirror, not a master, and that every limitation you've accepted was just a story you forgot you were telling yourself. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you begin to understand that manifestation is not about forcing reality to bend, but about surrendering to the feeling of your wish fulfilled until the universe has no choice but to reflect it back. This is why it matters, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not bridged by action alone, but by the quiet, unshakable conviction that what you desire is already yours. This is the turning point, where you stop begging for scraps from the table of life and instead pull out your own chair at the feast, knowing that abundance is your birthright and luxury is simply your natural state returning to you. But that was only the beginning, because the real magic lies in the next step, learning how to assume the feeling of wealth so vividly that your subconscious mind believes it has always been yours. This is where truth breaks through. The realization that you are not a victim of circumstance, but the architect of your experience, and that every moment spent in lack is a moment wasted in a dream you didn't consciously choose. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the weight of old beliefs crumbling, replaced by the electric certainty that prosperity is not something you chase, but something you become. This is where illusion fades, and you see that the only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is the story you've been telling yourself about what you deserve. Now consider this. What if everything you've ever wanted is already here, waiting in the invisible realm of your imagination, and all you must do is step into the feeling of it long enough for it to take form? This is the moment you stop asking how and start living as if, because the how is not your concern. It is the universe's job to deliver once you've claimed your desire as done. This is the formula in motion. Assume the feeling of luxury and watch as the world rearranges itself to match the picture you hold in your mind. But here's the secret no one tells you. This isn't just about money or possessions. It's about rewiring your identity so that abundance becomes as natural to you as breathing. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who walks into rooms and commands attention not through effort, but through the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are destined for greatness. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not here to struggle, but to create, and that every desire you hold is a divine invitation to expand into the version of yourself who already has it. As the story unfolds, you'll see that manifestation is not a one-time trick, but a way of being, a relentless commitment to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, no matter what the outer world tries to tell you. This is where you stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself, because no one else can grant you the life you want. Only you can assume it into existence. And so the journey begins, not with a single step, but with a single thought. I am the operant power in my world, and today, I choose luxury. Suppose you discover that the fastest way to change your reality is not by chasing it, but by inhabiting it before it arrives. This is the heart of Neville's most revolutionary teaching. This is where the rubber meets the road. Assumption is not wishful thinking, but the deliberate, unwavering decision to adopt the mindset, emotions, and identity of someone who already lives in the luxury you crave, as if it were as natural as the air you breathe. This is how it unfolds. You don't wait for the penthouse, the private jet, or the financial freedom to feel wealthy. You start feeling it now, so vividly that your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. As the layers peel back, you realize that every great fortune, every love story, every stroke of luck began as an assumption in someone's mind, a quiet certainty that what they desired was already theirs. Yet something deeper was waiting. And so you begin to understand that assumption is not a mental trick, but a spiritual surrender. The moment you stop questioning if it will happen and start living as though it already has. This is why it matters. Because the universe doesn't respond to your words or your actions. It responds to the state you inhabit, the emotional frequency you emit like a beacon into the quantum field. This is the turning point where you stop asking, "How will this come to me?" and start declaring, "It is mine." With such conviction that doubt dissolves like mist in the morning sun. But that was only the beginning, because the real power of assumption lies in its ability to collapse time, to pull the future into the present by refusing to acknowledge any reality but the one you've chosen. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you realize that your outer world is not creating your inner state, but the other way around. Your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions are the architects of everything you see. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old story of lack crumbling, replaced by the unshakable knowing that luxury is not something you earn, but something you are. Now consider this. What if the only thing separating you from the life of your dreams is your willingness to assume it's already yours? To walk through your days with the quiet confidence of someone who has already arrived. This is where illusion fades, and you see that waiting for proof is like waiting for the sun to rise while standing in a cave. You'll never see it unless you step into the light first. This is the formula in motion. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and watch as the world conspires to make it real, not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with the truth of who you are. But here's the secret no one tells you. Assumption is not about pretending. It's about becoming, about letting go of the person who doubts and stepping into the version of yourself who knows. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just dream of luxury but lives it in every thought, every breath, every glance in the mirror. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not here to beg for scraps from the universe, but to command its abundance by assuming the identity of someone who already has it all. As the story unfolds, you'll see that assumption is not a one-time act, but a way of being, a relentless commitment to the feeling of your desire fulfilled, no matter what the outer world tries to tell you. This is where you stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself. Because no one else can grant you the life you want, only you can assume it into existence. And so the journey deepens, not with a single step, but with a single unbreakable thought. I am the operant power in my world, and today I choose to live as if my greatest desires are already mine. This is where the magic begins, not in the having, but in the being, and in the knowing that luxury is not a destination, but a state of mind you can inhabit right now. Envision a world where your desires don't just arrive. They arrive exactly as you imagined them, down to the finest detail, because you dared to be specific enough to leave no room for doubt. This is where the dream takes shape. Clarity is not just a tool for manifestation. It's the difference between a vague hope and a magnetic certainty that pulls your desires into reality with laser precision. This is how it unfolds. You don't just say, "I want to be rich." You close your eyes and see the exact balance in your bank account, the make and model of the car parked in your driveway, the texture of the silk sheets in your master suite, because the universe responds to details like a master painter responds to a vivid sketch. As the layers peel back, you start to see that vagueness is the enemy of manifestation. It's the crack in the door where doubt seeps in, where the universe, confused by your lack of direction, delivers half measures instead of miracles. Yet something deeper was waiting. And so you realize that crafting your luxury vision isn't about greed. It's about honesty, about admitting to yourself what you truly want, without apology or hesitation, because the universe rewards those who know their own hearts. This is why it matters, because a clear vision acts like a homing beacon, cutting through the noise of how and when, and pulling your desires towards you with the inevitability of a magnet. This is the turning point, where you stop settling for good enough and start demanding the exact life you were born to live, because anything less is a betrayal of your own potential. But that was only the beginning, because the real power of specificity lies in its ability to ignite emotion. When you can see it, touch it, feel it in your bones, your subconscious mind wakes up and starts rearranging reality to match your blueprint. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that the universe doesn't respond to lukewarm desires, it responds to obsession, to the kind of clarity that makes your heart race and your soul whisper, "This is mine." As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of playing small dissolving, replaced by the electric thrill of knowing that your dreams are not just possible, but inevitable, if only you dare to define them. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet is not because you're unworthy, but because you haven't been specific enough to give the universe a clear target? This is where illusion fades, and you see that a vague wish is like sending a letter without an address. It might arrive somewhere, but it won't arrive to you. This is the formula in motion. Craft a vision so clear, so alive in your mind, that your subconscious mind and the universe have no choice but to conspire in your favor, delivering not just a luxury life, but your luxury life, tailored to your deepest desires. But here's the secret no one tells you. Specificity isn't just about the what, it's about the why, the emotional core that makes your vision irresistible to the forces that shape reality. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just dream in broad strokes, but in high definition, with the unwavering certainty that what you can conceive, you can achieve. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that your imagination is not a playground for idle fantasies, but the sacred space where your reality is born, and the clearer the picture, the faster it arrives. As the story unfolds, you'll see that a well-crafted vision is not a rigid demand, but a living, breathing invitation to the universe, one that says, "This is what I know is mine, now show me how to receive it." This is where you stop leaving your dreams to chance and start designing them with the precision of an architect. Because luxury is not a stroke of luck, it's the result of a mind that refuses to settle for anything less than its heart's true desire. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single, unshakable declaration. My vision is clear, my desire is specific, and my reality has no choice but to bend to the will of my imagination. This is where the magic accelerates, not in the waiting, but in the knowing, and in the refusal to accept anything less than the life you've designed in perfect, vivid detail. Think of the moment when you held something you desired so deeply that your hands trembled, not with doubt, but with the overwhelming certainty that it was finally yours. This is where the alchemy happens. Emotion is not just a byproduct of manifestation. It's the fuel, the electric current that transforms a mental image into a physical reality, because the universe doesn't respond to thoughts alone, but to the vibration of your feelings. This is how it unfolds. You don't just think about driving that luxury car. You slide into the leather seat, grip the steering wheel, and feel the engines roar in your chest until your body believes it's already happening, until your nervous system can't tell the difference between imagination and memory. As the layers peel back, you start to see that cold, detached visualization is like sending a text without emotion. It might get read, but it won't get a response, because the universe is drawn to the heat of your desire, not the coolness of your logic. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that emotion is the bridge between your inner world and the outer one, the force that collapses the gap between Sunday and now. Because when you feel it, you are it. This is why it matters, because every luxury you've ever wanted is already here, floating in the quantum field, waiting for the emotional frequency that matches its vibration, like a radio tuning into a station. This is the turning point, where you stop intellectualizing your desires and start feeling them with such intensity that your body becomes a magnet, pulling your dreams into your arms like a lover you've waited for your whole life. But that was only the beginning, because the real magic of emotion lies in its ability to rewrite your subconscious mind, to convince the deepest parts of you that what you want is not just possible, but inevitable, because if you can feel it, you can have it. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that tears of joy, the rush of excitement, the quiet hum of gratitude, these are not just reactions to manifestation, but the cause of it, the proof that you've already stepped into the reality you desire. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of emotional restraint dissolving, replaced by the wild, intoxicating freedom of letting yourself want without apology, to feel without reservation, because this is how the universe knows you're ready. Now consider this. What if the only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is your willingness to feel the joy of having it now? To let the emotion of your wish fulfilled course through you until it becomes your new normal. This is where illusion fades, and you see that playing it safe, keeping your emotions in check, your desires at arm's length, is the surest way to keep your dreams at bay, because the universe only delivers what you're willing to feel into existence. This is the formula in motion. Feel the luxury, the love, the happiness as if it's already yours, and watch as the world rearranges itself to match the frequency of your joy. Because emotion is the language of creation, and you are fluent in the dialect of miracles. But here's the secret no one tells you. Emotion isn't just about the highs, it's about the depth, the ability to sit in the feeling of your desire with such unwavering faith that doubt doesn't stand a chance. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just think about abundance but vibrates with it, who doesn't just hope for love but radiates it. Because you finally understood that feeling is the secret ingredient that turns dreams into destiny. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not here to beg for crumbs from the table of life, but to feast at the banquet of your own creation, and the invitation is written in the language of your emotions. As the story unfolds, you'll see that emotion is not a fleeting spark, but a sustained flame, one that must be tended with daily practice, with moments of closing your eyes and living in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, until it becomes more real than the world around you. This is where you stop waiting for proof and start being the proof, because the universe doesn't reward those who want, it rewards those who are. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single, unshakable emotional declaration. I am the feeling of my dreams made real, and my reality has no choice but to reflect the joy I carry within me. This is where the magic becomes unstoppable, not in the thinking, but in the feeling, and in the courage to let your heart lead you home to the life you were always meant to live. Ask yourself what happens when you dare to question the stories you've been told. Stories like, money is the root of all evil, or rich people are greedy, or I don't deserve that kind of life. This is where the chains begin to break. Your limiting beliefs about wealth aren't just thoughts, they're invisible barriers, programmed into your subconscious like code, dictating what you allow yourself to receive and what you unconsciously push away. This is how it unfolds. You don't just decide to be wealthy. You first have to dismantle the lies you've inherited, the ones that whisper you're not enough, it's not safe, it's not for you, because those lies are the reason your bank account looks the way it does. As the layers peel back, you start to see that every time you've ever said, I can't afford that, or that's too good to be true, you weren't stating a fact, you were casting a spell, reinforcing the prison walls of your own scarcity. Yet something deeper was waiting. And so you realize that overcoming limiting beliefs isn't about positive thinking. It's about rewriting the script, about tracing those beliefs back to their roots and pulling them out like weeds, because a garden of abundance cannot grow in the soil of doubt. This is why it matters, because your subconscious mind doesn't argue with your beliefs. It obeys them. And if you've been programmed to believe that wealth is hard or that you're unworthy, then no amount of visualization or affirmation will work until you change the code. This is the turning point, where you stop blaming the economy, your upbringing, or bad luck, and start looking in the mirror. Because the only thing standing between you and luxury is the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't have it. But that was only the beginning, because the real work of overcoming limiting beliefs happens in the quiet moments. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never have that," and you replace it with, "I am a magnet for abundance," not as a hopeful thought, but as a command to your subconscious mind. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that your beliefs about money aren't facts, they're choices, and you can choose again, right now, to adopt the beliefs of someone who was born to thrive. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the weight of old programming lifting, replaced by the lightness of knowing that wealth is not a privilege for the few, but a birthright for those brave enough to claim it. Now consider this. What if the reason you haven't manifested the life you want isn't because you're incapable, but because you've been unconsciously loyal to the idea that you're not supposed to have it? This is where illusion fades, and you see that your limiting beliefs are not truths, they're habits. And habits can be broken, rewritten, and transformed into the unshakable knowing that prosperity is your natural state. This is the formula in motion. Identify the lie, reject it with every fiber of your being, and replace it with a truth so powerful that your subconscious mind has no choice but to accept it as reality. Because your beliefs shape your world, and it's time to start believing in abundance. But here's the secret no one tells you. This isn't just about money. It's about worthiness, about finally giving yourself permission to take up space, to shine, to receive the gifts the universe has been trying to give you all along. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just want wealth but expects it, who doesn't just hope for abundance but demands it, because you've finally seen the truth. You were never meant to struggle, you were meant to thrive. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that your mind is the only limit you've ever had, and the moment you shatter those limits, the floodgates of prosperity open wider than you ever imagined. As the story unfolds, you'll see that overcoming limiting beliefs is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a relentless commitment to catching yourself in the act of doubt and replacing it with the unshakable certainty that you are a magnet for miracles. This is where you stop asking for permission and start giving it to yourself, because no one else can free you from the prison of your own beliefs. Only you can choose to walk out. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single defiant declaration. I release every belief that has ever held me back, and I step into the truth of my limitless potential. This is where the magic accelerates, not in the waiting, but in the unlearning, and in the courage to rewrite the story of what you're capable of receiving. Picture for a moment the exact texture of the keys to your dream home in your palm, the weight of them, the cool metal pressing into your skin as you turn the lock and step into a space that feels like it was built just for you. This is where the magic takes root. Visualization isn't just daydreaming. It's the deliberate act of painting your desires onto the canvas of your mind with such vivid detail that your subconscious mind mistakes it for memory, and your body begins to crave it like a hunger. This is how it unfolds. You don't just see the luxury yacht cutting through turquoise waters. You hear the waves lapping against the hull, smell the salt in the air, feel the sun warming your skin as you sip champagne on the deck. Because the universe doesn't respond to half-hearted images. It responds to sensory immersion, to the kind of clarity that leaves no room for doubt. As the layers peel back, you start to see that weak, fuzzy visualizations are like sending a blurry photograph to the universe. It might recognize parts of it, but it won't know what to do with the rest. And so it delivers fragments instead of the full masterpiece. Yet something deeper was waiting. And so you realize that the most powerful visualizations aren't just seen, they're felt. Because emotion is the glue that binds your mental images to reality, the force that pulls your desires from the invisible into the tangible. This is why it matters, because every luxury you've ever wanted already exists in the quantum field, waiting for you to focus on it with such intensity that it snaps into place like a puzzle piece, clicking into its rightful spot. This is the turning point, where you stop visualizing from a place of lack. I wish I had that. And start visualizing from a place of ownership. This is mine, and I am experiencing it now. But that was only the beginning, because the real power of visualization lies in its ability to rewire your brain, to convince your nervous system that what you desire is not just possible, but inevitable, until your body moves, speaks, and acts as if it's already yours. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that visualization isn't about escaping reality, it's about reprogramming it, about flooding your mind with so much evidence of your desire that your subconscious mind surrenders and starts working for you instead of against you. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of vague, passive daydreaming dissolving, replaced by the electric focus of someone who knows that every detail matters. The way the light catches the diamonds on your wrist, the sound of your name echoing in a 5-star lobby, the taste of success on your tongue. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because they're out of reach, but because you haven't dared to immerse yourself in them long enough for the universe to recognize your seriousness? This is where illusion fades, and you see that a half-hearted visualization is like planting a seed and then walking away. It might grow, but it won't thrive, and it certainly won't bear the fruit you're capable of harvesting. This is the formula in motion. Close your eyes and step into the scene of your desire, engaging every sense until your mind can no longer tell the difference between imagination and reality, because the universe responds to the frequency of your focus, not the volume of your words. But here's the secret no one tells you. Visualization isn't just about the what, it's about the who, about becoming the person who naturally attracts the life you're imagining, the person who doesn't just want luxury, but embodies it. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just see abundance, but lives it in your mind first, because you finally understood that reality is just a shadow of your imagination, and it's time to cast a bolder shadow. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not at the mercy of chance, but the master of your experience. And visualization is the brush with which you paint your destiny in strokes so vivid that the universe has no choice but to deliver the masterpiece. As the story unfolds, you'll see that the most effective visualizations aren't just clear, they're alive, pulsing with the energy of your desire, pulling you forward like a magnet until the line between imagination and reality blurs into one. This is where you stop waiting for your dreams to arrive and start living them in your mind. Because the universe doesn't reward those who wish, it rewards those who know. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single, unshakable declaration. I am the architect of my reality, and today, I build it with the precision of my imagination. This is where the magic becomes inevitable, not in the hoping, but in the seeing, and in the refusal to accept anything less than the life you've already claimed in the theater of your mind. Can you imagine waking up every morning and speaking your future into existence, not as a plea, but as a proclamation, as if the universe itself were waiting for your command? This is where the words take power. Affirmations aren't just positive statements. They're the architectural blueprints of your reality, the spoken code that rewires your subconscious mind to accept abundance as your default setting. This is how it unfolds. You don't just whisper, "I want to be rich." You stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and declare, "I am a magnet for wealth, and luxury flows to me effortlessly," with such conviction that your cells vibrate with the truth of it, because the universe doesn't respond to timid requests, it responds to unshakable decrees. As the layers peel back, you start to see that weak, hesitant affirmations are like planting seeds in dry soil. They might sprout, but they'll never grow strong enough to break through the surface of your old reality. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that the most powerful affirmations aren't just spoken, they're felt, because words without emotion are like arrows without tips. They fly, but they don't pierce the armor of doubt. This is why it matters, because every word you speak is a spell, and your subconscious mind is the sorcerer's apprentice, eager to manifest whatever you command. So if you're still saying I hope or maybe someday, you're not casting a spell for abundance. You're casting one for delay. This is the turning point, where you stop reciting affirmations like a script and start living them like a vow. Because the difference between a wish and a reality is the energy behind the words. But that was only the beginning. Because the real magic of affirmations lies in their ability to collapse the gap between your current self and the version of you who already has it all. Each repetition is a hammer stroke, reshaping your identity until you no longer recognize the person who once doubted their worth. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that affirmations aren't about convincing the universe, they're about convincing you, about drowning out the old stories of lack with a new narrative so compelling that your mind has no choice but to surrender. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the weight of old, disempowering language falling away, replaced by the electric charge of words that don't just describe your future, they summon it. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because you're unworthy, but because you've been speaking the language of scarcity instead of the dialect of abundance? This is where illusion fades, and you see that every "I can't" or "it's too hard" is a curse you've been casting on your own life, and the only antidote is to start speaking as if your dreams are already here, because they are. This is the formula in motion. Craft affirmations so precise, so charged with emotion, that they don't just change your mind, they change your vibration, pulling your desires toward you like a riptide. But here's the secret no one tells you. Affirmations aren't just about the words. They're about the identity you're stepping into, the version of yourself who doesn't just want luxury, but commands it as their birthright. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just say the words, but becomes them. Because you finally understood that reality is shaped by the stories you tell yourself. And it's time to tell a better story. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that your words are the wand, and your mind is the magic, and the life you desire is just a declaration away. As the story unfolds, you'll see that affirmations aren't a one-time incantation. They're a daily ritual, a sacred practice of reinforcing the truth until it becomes more real than the lies you've outgrown. This is where you stop begging for scraps and start demanding the feast, because the universe doesn't reward those who ask. It rewards those who declare. And so the journey deepens. Not with a single phrase, but with a single, unshakable decree. I am the voice of my destiny, and today I speak only the language of my highest potential. This is where the magic becomes inevitable, not in the whispering, but in the proclaiming, and in the refusal to let a single syllable of doubt cross your lips ever again. Picture for a moment the exact feeling of slipping into a life where every desire, every luxury, every joy, every dream, has already been granted, where the weight of longing has dissolved into the lightness of knowing. This is where the miracle begins. The state of wish fulfilled isn't a destination, it's a practice. A daily immersion in the feeling that what you want is no longer out there, but already here, already yours, already woven into the fabric of your reality. This is how it unfolds. You don't just imagine the moment your dream home becomes yours. You inhabit it, waking up each morning and moving through your day with the quiet certainty of someone who has already signed the deed, already turned the key, already felt the walls embrace them like an old friend. As the layers peel back, you start to see that hoping for your desires is like standing on the shore and wishing for the tide to come in. It might eventually, but you'll spend your life waiting. While living as if your wish is fulfilled is like diving into the ocean and letting the current carry you home. Yet something deeper was waiting. And so you realize that this state isn't about denial. It's about alignment, about tuning your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions to the frequency of someone who already has what they want, because the universe doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who are. This is why it matters. Because every moment you spend in the feeling of your wish fulfilled is a moment you're creating that reality, pulling it closer with the gravitational force of your conviction. This is the turning point, where you stop treating your desires like distant possibilities and start treating them like facts. because the difference between a dream and a reality is the emotional address you assign to it. But that was only the beginning, because the real power of this state lies in its ability to dissolve the how. You don't need to know the path when you're already standing at the destination, and the universe will handle the details if you handle the feeling. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that the state of wish fulfilled isn't about pretending, it's about remembering, about recognizing that what you desire is already yours in the invisible realm, and your job is simply to align with that truth until it becomes visible. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of striving and struggling dissolving, replaced by the effortless grace of someone who knows that abundance is not something to chase, but something to embody. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because they're out of reach, but because you've been living in the question of when instead of the answer of now? This is where illusion fades, and you see that the state of wish fulfilled is not a fantasy. It's the most honest place you can stand, because it's the only place where creation actually happens. This is the formula in motion. Wake up every morning and feel the fulfillment of your desires before you even open your eyes. Let it color your coffee, your conversations, your steps, until the line between manifesting and having blurs into one. But here's the secret no one tells you. This state isn't about ignoring reality. It's about transcending it, about living in the emotional reality of your dreams so fully that the physical world has no choice but to catch up. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just believe in their desires, but lives them. Because you finally understood that the how is none of your business. Your only job is to feel it real. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not here to beg for miracles, you are here to remember them, to step into the feeling of your wishes fulfilled so completely that the universe has no choice but to reflect it back to you. As the story unfolds, you'll see that this state isn't a one-time experience. It's a way of being, a daily devotion to the truth that your desires are not coming, they are here, and your job is to meet them halfway by feeling their presence now. This is where you stop waiting for your life to begin and start living it, because the universe doesn't reward those who hope, it rewards those who know. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single, unshakable declaration. I am the feeling of my dreams made real, and today I refuse to live anywhere but in the state of my wish fulfilled. This is where the magic becomes inevitable, not in the waiting, but in the being, and in the refusal to accept any reality that doesn't match the one you've already claimed in your heart. Consider the possibility that the fastest way to attract more luxury into your life isn't by chasing it, but by falling in love with what you already have. Because gratitude isn't just a virtue, it's a magnet. This is where the shift happens. Gratitude isn't about settling for less, it's about recognizing the abundance already present in your life, which signals to the universe that you're ready for more, because energy flows where appreciation grows. This is how it unfolds. You don't just think about the things you're grateful for. You feel them, letting the warmth of appreciation for your current blessings dissolve the desperation for what's missing, because the universe doesn't respond to lack. It responds to fullness, to the vibration of someone who knows they are already blessed. As the layers peel back, you start to see that complaining about what you don't have is like standing in a downpour and wondering why you're still thirsty. You're surrounded by abundance, but your focus on lack blinds you to the rivers of prosperity already flowing at your feet. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that gratitude isn't a passive emotion. It's an active force, a declaration that you trust the universe to deliver, and trust is the currency of manifestation. This is why it matters, because every time you say thank you for what you have, you're not just acknowledging the past, you're commanding the future, telling the universe, I am worthy of more, and I am ready to receive it. This is the turning point, where you stop treating gratitude as an afterthought and start wielding it like a wand, because the difference between a life of struggle and a life of luxury is the frequency you emit, and gratitude is the highest frequency of all. But that was only the beginning. Because the real power of appreciation lies in its ability to rewire your brain, to train your mind to see abundance everywhere, until lack becomes a foreign concept, a language you no longer speak. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that gratitude isn't about ignoring your desires, it's about fueling them, about creating such a powerful current of appreciation that your dreams are pulled toward you like iron to a magnet. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of focusing on what's missing dissolving, replaced by the overflowing joy of someone who sees the luxury in every sunrise, every breath, every small victory, because you've finally understood that abundance is not a destination, it's a perspective. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because you're unworthy, but because you've been standing in the energy of not enough instead of the energy of thank you? This is where illusion fades, and you see that gratitude is not a detour on the path to luxury. It's the fast lane, because the universe cannot resist a heart that is open, a mind that is full, and a spirit that knows it is already blessed. This is the formula in motion. Start and end each day by listing not just what you're grateful for, but why it matters, letting the emotion of appreciation flood your body until it becomes your default state, because the universe matches your energy, and gratitude is the energy of more. But here's the secret no one tells you. Gratitude isn't just about the big things. It's about the small moments, the quiet joys that most people overlook, because luxury isn't just about what you have. It's about how alive you feel. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins, the you who doesn't just wait for abundance, but celebrates it in advance, because you finally understood that the key to receiving is not neediness, but thankfulness. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that gratitude is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And the more you appreciate, the more the universe will give you to appreciate. As the story unfolds, you'll see that gratitude isn't a one-time act. It's a lifestyle, a daily practice of training your mind to see the gold in every moment, until your entire reality shimmers with opportunity. This is where you stop begging for miracles and start thanking them into existence, because the universe doesn't reward those who want, it rewards those who appreciate. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single heartfelt declaration. I am grateful for all that I have, and I am open to receiving all that is coming, because luxury is my birthright, and I am ready to claim it. This is where the magic becomes unstoppable, not in the asking, but in the thanking, and in the knowing that every thank you is a step closer to the life you've always dreamed of. Envision a world where the harder you try to grasp your desires, the more they slip through your fingers, until the moment you finally release your grip, and suddenly, they fall effortlessly into your open hands. This is where the paradox reveals itself. Detachment isn't about giving up on your dreams. It's about trusting them so completely that you no longer need to force them into existence, because the universe delivers what you are, not what you want. This is how it unfolds. You don't stop desiring the luxury, the love, or the happiness. You stop needing them to feel whole, because the moment you release the desperation, you become a magnet for miracles, and miracles cannot resist a heart that is open. As the layers peel back, you start to see that clinging to your desires like a drowning person clings to a lifeboat is the surest way to push them away, because neediness is the frequency of lack, and lack only attracts more lack. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that detachment isn't indifference, it's surrender, the radical trust that what is meant for you will find you, not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. This is why it matters, because the universe doesn't respond to your grasping. It responds to your vibration. And nothing raises your vibration faster than the peace of knowing that your desires are already on their way. This is the turning point, where you stop treating your dreams like a life raft, and start treating them like the shore you're already standing on. Because the difference between struggle and flow is the faith that what you want is as certain as the sunrise. But that was only the beginning, because the real power of detachment lies in its ability to dissolve resistance. The moment you stop obsessing over the how and the when, The universe steps in and handles the details, because your only job is to be the person who already has it all. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that detachment isn't about letting go of your desires, it's about letting go of the fear that they won't come, because fear is the only thing that ever stood in your way. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of control dissolving, replaced by the effortless confidence of someone who knows that luxury is not something to chase, it's something to allow. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because you're unworthy, but because you've been holding on so tightly that the universe couldn't deliver them? This is where illusion fades, and you see that detachment is not a sacrifice, it's a superpower. The ability to trust so deeply that your dreams have no choice but to become your reality. This is the formula in motion. Desire with passion, visualize with clarity, and then release with trust, knowing that what is yours will find you, not because you forced it, but because you matched its energy. But here's the secret no one tells you. Detachment isn't about giving up, it's about receiving, about creating so much space in your heart and mind that your desires can finally rush in to fill it. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just want luxury, but embodies the frequency of someone who knows it's already theirs, because you finally understood that the universe rewards those who trust, not those who beg. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that detachment is the ultimate act of faith. The moment you stop trying to make things happen and start letting them unfold. Because the universe is not a vending machine, it's a mirror, and it can only reflect back to you what you're willing to believe. As the story unfolds, you'll see that detachment isn't a one-time act. It's a way of being, a daily practice of trusting that your desires are already yours, and your only job is to stay open to receiving them. This is where you stop chasing and start attracting. Because the universe doesn't reward those who strive, it rewards those who surrender. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single, unshakable declaration. I release my desires to the universe, trusting that they are already mine, and I am open to receiving them with ease and grace. This is where the magic becomes inevitable, not in the grasping, but in the letting go, and in the knowing that what is meant for you will always find its way. Think of the moment when you realize that every financial struggle, every setback, every no you've ever received wasn't a life sentence. It was just a scene in a story you're fully capable of rewriting. This is where the past loses its power. Revision isn't about denying what happened, it's about reinterpreting it, about stepping into the role of the director of your life and editing the script so that every failure becomes a setup for your comeback. Every loss, a lesson that paved the way for your fortune. This is how it unfolds. You don't just remember the time you were turned down for a loan or the job you didn't get. You replay it in your mind. But this time, you see yourself handling it with unshakable confidence. Hearing the banker say, approved, or the employer say, you're exactly who we've been looking for. Because your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a memory and a revision. And neither can the universe. As the layers peel back, you start to see that your financial story isn't set in stone. It's a narrative. The narratives can be edited, especially when you understand that the past only has the power you give it. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that revision isn't about lying to yourself. It's about aligning with the truth of who you really are, someone who was born for abundance, not struggle. This is why it matters, because every time you revisit a moment of lack and rewrite it with the energy of prosperity, you're not just changing the past, you're programming your future, sending a signal to the universe that says, this is how my story goes now. This is the turning point, where you stop treating your financial history like a burden and start treating it like raw material, the clay you'll use to sculpt the life you truly desire. But that was only the beginning. Because the real power of revision lies in its ability to dissolve the emotional charge of old wounds, to take the sting out of rejection and the fear out of failure, until your past no longer dictates your present. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that your financial story isn't something that happened to you, It's something you're creating, and every revision is a brushstroke on the masterpiece of your future. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of dwelling on scarcity dissolving, replaced by the empowering rush of someone who knows they're the author of their own life. And authors have the final say. Now consider this. What if the reason your financial reality hasn't shifted yet isn't because you're stuck, but because you've been replaying the old story instead of rewriting it? This is where illusion fades, and you see that revision isn't about escapism. It's about reclamation, about taking back the pen and writing a story where you're not the victim of circumstance, but the hero of your own prosperity. This is the formula in motion. Close your eyes, revisit a moment where money felt scarce or success felt out of reach, and replay it. But this time, infuse it with the energy of abundance, the certainty of someone who knows that every no was just a detour to a bigger yes. But here's the secret no one tells you. Revision isn't just about changing the past. It's about changing you. About becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts wealth, because the universe doesn't reward those who remember their struggles. It rewards those who transcend them. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just survive their financial story, but rewrites it. Because you've finally understood that your past was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that your financial story isn't written in ink. It's written in imagination, and you hold the pen. As the story unfolds, you'll see that revision isn't a one-time trick. It's a daily practice, a commitment to seeing every setback as a setup for something greater, until your mind is so programmed for prosperity that lack becomes a foreign concept. This is where you stop being a prisoner of your past and start being the architect of your future, because the universe doesn't reward those who repeat their old stories. It rewards those who revise them. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single unshakable declaration. I am the author of my financial story, and today I rewrite it with the energy of abundance, success, and limitless possibility. This is where the magic becomes inevitable. Not in the remembering, but in the revising, and in the knowing that your past was never your prison. It was your preparation. Suppose you discover that the same principles used to manifest wealth can also summon the kind of relationships that elevate your life, where every conversation, every connection, every shared moment feels like a step into a world of deeper luxury, influence, and joy. This is where the alchemy of relationships begins. Attracting high-value connections isn't about chasing people. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally draws them in. Because the universe doesn't deliver what you want, it delivers what you are. This is how it unfolds. You don't just wish for a mentor, a partner, or a circle of influential friends. You embody the energy of someone who already moves in those circles, who speaks with confidence, listens with presence, and carries themselves with the quiet certainty of someone who knows their worth. As the layers peel back, you start to see that neediness repels, but magnetism attracts. And magnetism isn't about what you have, but how you feel about yourself. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that high-value relationships aren't built on transaction, but on resonance, on the unspoken recognition that you're both playing the same game of creation, and the universe loves to connect those who vibrate at the same frequency. This is why it matters, because every person you meet is a mirror, reflecting back the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. And if you've been whispering, "I'm not enough," the world will echo it back in the form of connections that drain instead of uplift. This is the turning point, where you stop treating relationships like something you need to earn, and start treating them like something you are, because the difference between loneliness and a thriving network is the energy you emit. But that was only the beginning. Because the real power of attracting high-value connections lies in your ability to see them before they arrive, to hold space in your mind and heart for the kind of people who inspire you, challenge you, and open doors you didn't even know existed. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that you don't attract who you want, you attract who you believe you deserve. And if you've been settling for less, it's time to upgrade your self-image. As you stand at this threshold, you feel the old habit of shrinking to fit in dissolving, replaced by the unshakable confidence of someone who knows they belong in rooms they haven't yet entered. Now consider this. What if the reason you haven't met the people who could change your life isn't because they don't exist, but because you haven't yet embodied the version of yourself who would naturally cross paths with them? This is where illusion fades. And you see that relationships aren't about luck. They're about alignment, about vibrating at the frequency of the connections you desire, until the universe has no choice but to deliver them. This is the formula in motion. Every morning, close your eyes and feel the presence of the people you want to attract. Their laughter, their wisdom, the way they light up when you walk into the room, because the universe responds to the emotional reality you create, not the physical one. But here's the secret no one tells you. High-value relationships aren't about what others can do for you. They're about what you bring to the table. The energy of someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to shine. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just want incredible connections, but magnetizes them, because you finally understood that the quality of your relationships is a direct reflection of the quality of your self-belief. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not here to beg for love, respect, or opportunity. You are here to command it by becoming the person who naturally attracts it. As the story unfolds, you'll see that manifesting luxury in relationships isn't about manipulation. It's about radiance, about shining so brightly that the right people can't help but be drawn to your light. This is where you stop waiting for the right people to appear and start being the person they're looking for. Because the universe doesn't reward those who wait, it rewards those who vibrate. And so the journey deepens, not with a single thought, but with a single unshakable declaration. I am a magnet for high-value connections, and today I attract the relationships that reflect my worth, my vision, and my destiny. This is where the magic becomes inevitable, not in the searching, but in the becoming, and in the knowing that the right people will always find you when you're ready to be found. Envision the moment just before sleep, when your conscious mind drifts away and your subconscious, the true architect of your reality, steps forward, ready to absorb the blueprint of the life you desire. This is where the real work begins. Your sleeping mind isn't just resting, it's creating, weaving the threads of your imagination into the fabric of your waking world. Because the universe doesn't just respond to your thoughts, it responds to the deepest beliefs you hold when your guard is down. This is how it unfolds. You don't just think about your desires before bed. You feel them, letting the emotion of already having them wash over you like a wave, until your subconscious mind accepts it as truth and begins to rearrange your reality to match. As the layers peel back, you start to see that the hours you spend asleep are the most powerful manifestation tool you've been underusing. Because while your conscious mind is distracted by doubt, your subconscious is wide open, hungry for the images and emotions you feed it. Yet something deeper was waiting, and so you realize that sleep isn't an escape from reality. It's the incubator of your dreams, the sacred space where your desires take root and grow in the dark, unseen but unstoppable. This is why it matters. Because every night, you're either reinforcing the old story of lack or rewriting it with the energy of abundance, and the choice is yours. Will you let your subconscious replay the past, or will you give it a new script to follow? This is the turning point, where you stop treating sleep as a pause in your journey and start treating it as the accelerator, the time when your mind is most receptive to the reality you want to create. But that was only the beginning. Because the real power of subconscious programming lies in its ability to dissolve resistance. The moment you fall asleep with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your subconscious goes to work, dismantling the doubts and fears that have been holding you back, until your waking life starts to reflect the luxury you've been cultivating in your dreams. This is where truth breaks through. The moment you understand that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a memory and a vivid imagination. So if you can feel it before you sleep, you can wake up to a world where it's already yours. As you stand at this threshold, You feel the old habit of drifting off with worries dissolving, replaced by the exhilarating certainty of someone who knows that their dreams are being built while they rest. Now consider this. What if the reason your desires haven't manifested yet isn't because you're not trying hard enough, but because you've been feeding your subconscious the wrong story every night? This is where illusion fades, and you see that sleep isn't just downtime, it's prime time for manifestation, the moment when your mind is most malleable and your desires are most within reach. This is the formula in motion. Every night, as you lie down, replay the day you want to live, not the one you had, but the one you're calling into existence, feeling the luxury, the love, the success as if it's already yours, because your subconscious mind will take that feeling and build it into your tomorrow. But here's the secret no one tells you. Your subconscious doesn't respond to words, it responds to emotion. So the more vividly you can feel your desires before sleep, the faster they'll appear in your waking life. This is where the old you ends and the new you begins. The you who doesn't just dream of luxury but programs it into their reality, because you finally understood that your sleeping mind is the ultimate manifester, and it's time to give it the right instructions. This is the promise of Neville's teachings, that you are not just a passive observer of your life, you are the director, and sleep is your most powerful tool for rewriting the script. As the story unfolds, you'll see that subconscious programming isn't a one-time trick. It's a nightly ritual, a sacred practice of feeding your mind the emotions of your desires until your waking reality has no choice but to reflect them. This is where you stop letting your subconscious replay the past and start commanding it to create your future. Because the universe doesn't reward those who worry, it rewards those who dream.